Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Trent from Coursecareers. Today I'm interviewing Robert to talk about his story breaking into tech. The reason you're going to want to watch until the end is he's got a super fascinating story talking about working for a nonprofit, doing fundraising, generating $1 million or so, and then saying, hey, I might be in the wrong industry here. I'm going to go try and get some money for myself here. So we'll let you tell the story, Robert. I'm the tech sales instructor at Coursecareers, where I put together the most in-depth tech sales course on the market, helping folks from non-traditional backgrounds with no degree, no experience break into tech. So if you'd like to learn more, you can click the first link in the below to visit the free tech sales intro course. Okay, Robert, let's start with where you are at today. What are you doing? What is your job? What does your day-to-day look like?
Okay, that's a good question. So I've actually landed my second tech sales role. So I think back in January, I landed my first role. Then I decided to go for my second role, and I just landed it recently, about a week ago. So I've actually officially in a couple more hours, I will be 1 week in.
Oh,
My new role.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. I know that things happen fast in the tech industry, so I'm interested to hear about that dynamic of switching companies in that horizon. What were you doing before you got into the tech industry?
Before the tech industry, I worked in the nonprofit industry. Honestly, it was really near and dear to my heart. I got a lot out of helping out people, especially little kids. I helped out homeless kids, by the way. So it was a really good mission. Loved it. But there was a pivotal moment where I said, okay, I think I'm in the wrong industry because I was underpaid, overworked, and I realized that I had a really good passion for being able to pitch to people and get them to and persuade them to look at things my way.
If you enjoy pitching to people, then tech sales is perfect for you. What made you feel like you needed to make the change? What was it? Just you got to a point where you just felt overworked, you felt underpaid. Maybe you've reached the glass ceiling per se. Because I imagine there's a lot of folks out there who are in, I don't want to say dead end jobs. You're making great impact, but you just don't see that future ahead. What was the breaking point where you said I have to make a change?
I reached that financial ceiling. I became a director at that nonprofit, but still wasn't making hardly any money. And also, I have my own personal story where my wife is now she's on disability because she has a chronic illness. So, as the breadwinner in the family, I have to make really good decisions in order to make sure my family stays financially fit.
What was it about the tech industry that attracted you to it?
Um, I hate to say it, but the money, but also the opportunities. I mean, if you look in my LinkedIn inbox, you'll see just so many people reaching out to me, offer me opportunities to go with their job or their company. So I never had that in nonprofit, but now after finishing course careers and after landing a role, I'm like a hot commodity at the moment. So.
Well, let's talk about that and how others can do the same, because I think that's exciting to start to feel like you have a skill set that the marketplace will reward and pay you handsomely for. So you're doing the fundraising and the nonprofit deal. You realize you like pitching and persuading people to gain their compliance. What steps did you take to then break into tech from that moment you decided you wanted to get into sales?
Okay, so well, to start out, I knew nothing about tech sales. So I happened to find, I think I was on YouTube, and I happened to find something about tech sales, and there was like an ad for Course Careers. I said, "What the hell? Let me click on it and try it out." So I went on and clicked on it. Took it. I noticed that okay, the course cost $500, and I said, "What the hell? I mean, let me try it out, see if I'm interested in it, because I love tech and I love to pitch people." So decided to go ahead and take a gamble. I said it's just a $500 gamble. So, but which it turned out to be a huge investment. So, and honestly, it's just even though I've only been in the tech for maybe 5 months now, it's paid huge dividends back to me.
Why
So.
was it such a huge and great investment for you?
I don't know of any place you can go to and spend $500 on education and turn out get a job where you're making five figures. I mean, that's unheard of. And then honestly, if I do stay in this particular role here, I am on track to do six figures in another, year or two. So, I mean, I don't know of anywhere where you could spend $500 and get that type of return.
That's incredible to hear, and I'm sure many are starting to sit on the edge of their seat saying, okay, I'm listening now. You landed in tech, it sounds like in January at the start of the year, and you were there a few months and then you decided to change roles. Can you sort of talk about that process, landing the first role, getting the experience, and then maybe realizing, hey, this isn't the culture I want to be in, or maybe there's a better opportunity over here? How did that work? Because I think a lot of folks get in roles that maybe they want to change, and I think it's important to be flexible and have the opportunity to go where you want. So just talk through the last few months and how that's played out for you.
Okay, so at first I kind of went for the low-hanging fruit. I really wanted to get into tech bad. So I found the company that I had somewhat of an interest in. That particular company was like an e-learning or a tech company, or they had a platform for that. And it mainly dealt with compliance and insurance, things like that, in financial firms. That was not my biggest interest, but I wanted the experience. So I took the job, I got some experience. After having a little bit of experience and putting that on my resume, I started to be sought out by different recruiters and hiring managers and things like that. And then that's when I landed a job at the company that I really wanted at initially. So, and I was lucky enough to, I mean, I don't want to say the name necessarily, but I was lucky enough to get some on LinkedIn profile. So Intuit, I was lucky enough to get a job at Intuit just recently.
Well, fantastic. Congratulations. When you talk about leveraging your skill set in LinkedIn and being a desirable asset in the market, how do you build that? How do you get to a point where you go from nonprofit to now in the tech industry with folks reaching out to you on LinkedIn, wanting to learn from you, wanting to hire you?
I mean, obviously, it all started out with Coursecareers. Honestly, my first job that I applied for, they knew about Coursecareers, and that was exactly what kind of helped get my foot in the door. And then plus, I used a lot of those interview skills that you go through when you're going through the courses and those practice questions. Also, the network is like the most invaluable thing that you get with Coursecareers. I actually got this job, the current job at Intuit, by networking through Coursecareers. So if I would have never taken that gamble and decided to invest in Coursecareers, I would have never had this opportunity because I would have never met that person to network and get this job.
Talk about your process with networking, because I think it's an important word that's used in a lot of different contexts. Talk about how you started to build connections and then networked your way into such a great company like Intuit.
Absolutely. So initially, starting out, I just kind of blindly just accepted people and connected with people on LinkedIn just to get my count up. But eventually, I started being more targeted. I started making sure that I accepted recruiters, hiring managers on my LinkedIn, specifically targeting companies that I wanted to work for and reaching out to people and employees at those companies. And just kind of doing that targeted approach, I was able to kind of get a hold of a lot of people, start to build some relationships within those companies, even though I didn't even work there. And eventually that's how I was able to land, this role, plus get a couple other interviews that I had before this.
What are best practice interview tips? Because it sounds like you were able to learn how to interview and get 2 jobs in a pretty short time horizon. So what are some strategies you used in the interviews to prepare and then ultimately get the job?
Absolutely. Well, right now, getting into tech right now is definitely a huge, I don't want to call it a fad, but it's a trend right now. So you have to be able to stand out. So one of the things that I've done to stand out was when I get in the interview and I try my hardest to do really good on the mock call part. When you're doing the mock calls, you have to do something to get their attention. So for me, at the beginning of those calls, I would come up with certain pattern interrupts or things that would catch their attentions. Specifically, for example, hey, this is Robert with company XYZ. Do you have 37 seconds to talk about blah, blah, blah? So I would say things in particular to get their attention, and I'm like, at the end of the mock call, they're like, why did he say 37 seconds? There's little tricks that I would do, and at the end of the interviews, like I always would ask what did I do wrong, or is there anything that I could work on? I would always do things in order for me to stand out amongst the crowd.
What impact did Coursecareers have on helping you ultimately find success in the role? Because I think it's important to acknowledge Coursecareers provided you with the network and the knowledge to get the jobs. But now that you've been in the career path for a few months now, how is the information translated to the real world?
Oh, absolutely. Everything that we did in the course, we use on a day-to-day basis. By example, going through the CRM systems. Also, just doing that research, learning how to find people on LinkedIn, and I mean that whole process from start to finish, you use on a day-to-day basis once you actually land a role. So you have to get really good at it. So that is actually going to be your day-to-day job.
Robert, why don't you give us the 15, 30-second pitch? If someone out there is sitting on the edge of their seat still and they're listening, they're saying, wow, well, Robert was able to get a 5-figure job, on track to do 6 figures, got hired at a big company like Intuit. Should they visit the first link in the description below? Why? Yes, no.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. Honestly, you have nothing to lose. Definitely take advantage of clicking on that link, starting that journey in and getting into Coursecareers. Honestly, you have a lot more to gain than to lose. I'm telling you right now. If I had never taken the opportunity to apply and get with Coursecareers, I would never be in the position that I'm in right now. I would still be working that dead-end job in the nonprofit industry. So right now I have so many opportunities, and I would love for other people to have this same opportunity as me.
It's truly transformational. Now opportunities day to day to pitch people and try and sell and persuade them and to get them to buy your product, good, or service. And that's an example of what we're trying to do, getting folks to click the first link in the description below so that they can visit the free tech sales intro course. We'll see you guys at Coursecareers. Robert, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Trent. I appreciate you having me.